So it begins.
I have now entered the mire of the middle. Hi, my name's Chris. I'm the Saturday Architect, and in this series, I'm talking about my journey learning to code as a licensed architect. I have gotten to the point where things are slowing down in excitement and they are picking up in difficulty. So I'll tell you about my context first and then my feelings afterward, as has been the pattern for this series. First, let's talk about the context. As I mentioned in a previous video, I have now been introduced to a new friend who knows how to code, and in this small city, that is a hard thing to find. He has been teaching me a curriculum that is focused on Python and not on anything architectural, not on Revit, which is fine. I have the Revit API course I bought that I've talked about previously, and that's good for that. I am choosing to limit my participation in the Revit API course to just 1 day a week now. And that's to give myself some breathing room to really, well, it's not breathing room, it's time to work on this new curriculum I've added. Also, this friend has now taught me some things that I hadn't thought about before. Things like Visual Studio Basic, which is a program in which I can write code and practice using Python. He's taught me about the concept of Git and how to use GitHub, which I had not used at all before, so that's been really good to learn. I also have done a few things in the command prompt on my computer, which I had been scared of using since I was like 15 and opened it one time and was terrified of breaking stuff. So, yeah. Also, a little change in schedule for these videos. I've been posting these one a week for a while now. I don't know, a little over a month. Now I'm going to start decreasing the frequency because I have gotten to the middle part and it's no fun to really get through this part, so I won't bore you with that. I don't really have many updates. Overall, I still feel like I am new to this, which I think is natural. Once again, I think this is going to be a several months long process of learning how to do this and getting really comfortable with it. I am very glad I have met someone who is willing to teach me, especially formally, how to do code. This is something that I don't want to go through alone. I will if I have to, but as long as I can have someone alongside me, that is going to be wonderful as I go forward. I know I can make progress as long as this friend is willing to continue to teach me. Also, I am certain that this is going to help me use Revit's API better. Learning how to use Revit's API is based on my ability to write Python and maybe sometime in the future C# or another language. So this is going to be a good foundation to build upon for other skills. Something I've been mulling over. I can already see how I could write my own custom nodes in Dynamo in Revit using Python. That is also going to be something that will benefit architects immensely. If you plan on using Dynamo to make your workflow faster, more efficient, more enjoyable, dare I say, learning how to use Python in custom nodes will be very beneficial, immensely helpful for making your workflow even better, even faster. Now it's another step because first you make the node, then you put it in a Dynamo script, and finally you run it in your Revit projects. But as with all things front loaded, once you've done it once, you've done it for all the other times you need to in the future. It's already a finished process, and you can just click the button, run the Dynamo script, whatever it is, the work has been done, and you can reap the benefit of the code that you've written in the past. So that's something I can see being a big benefit. At the same time, I am planning on not using Dynamo. I'm going to wane my Dynamo use, I'll put it that way. The instructor of the Learn Revit API course has said that he doesn't really use Dynamo much anymore now that he's learned how to use the API directly. That's because the buttons that he's made and all the tools he's made can do what Dynamo would do, and in his opinion, it's even better. It's built into Revit as an add-in, certainly, so that's a more direct interface, at the least as an added benefit that Dynamo doesn't have. You have to run the Dynamo player to run scripts, and it can be kind of clunky. Finally, I want to focus on what I have been saying through this video. I have now entered the murky middle or what is called The Dip by Seth Godin in his book. You can see the cover right here. This is not the most fun time in learning a new skill, and I have found that consistently throughout learning skills. I've got my guitars right here, and learning how to play guitar was a jolt of excitement at the start. I was making music, I was playing some basic chords, I was able to actually strum along with some basic songs at the start of my learning how to play guitar. And then once I got into things like finger picking and more complex chords, learning some basics of music theory, that was the slog part of it. I'm not going to deny it, and I don't want to hide that from anyone. At this point, I know you just need to get through the murky middle, which is not very thrilling, in order to arrive at mastery, which once again becomes fun. I wouldn't really call it a thrill, but the familiarity makes it so it's a warm, comfortable feeling of having this skill and being confident in it. I am certain learning how to code is going to be the same way. That's it for now. Time for me to rack up some experience points. I'll see you in the next video. I don't even know when that's going to be. Whenever I have a milestone to talk about in this journey. Until then, take care.